All right, I think let's begin now.
Absolutely. Please kick it off.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So, hello and welcome everyone to the first event of Google Startup Week, a joint initiative by Google and Lepton. I am Pranav Mathur, Head of Business Development from Lepton Software, and your host for today. Joined with me is Swasti, Marketing Manager Asia Pacific from Google Maps. Hi, Swasti.
Hello. Nice to be here. Nice to be here with everybody for this event.
Thank you for joining. I'm sure you all have been waiting and are eager to know more about the power of location intelligence for your startups. In today's webinar, we are going to do just that. We have a very different format today. We will be having a fireside conversation between our guest speakers to address the Google Startup Week and also talk about the LEAP initiative from Lepton Software. So without any further ado, allow me to introduce our guest speakers. We have Mr. Ravi Bhaskaran, Business and Monetization Lead from Google Maps India. Hello, Ravi.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here today. Looking forward to our discussion.
We have Mr. Gaurav Bansal, India Head for Google Maps Enterprise Business. Hi, Gaurav.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
And we have Mr. Ankush Wadhwa, Senior Vice President, Global Business Development and Strategy from Lepton Software. Hello, Ankush.
Hey, Ankush, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, perfect. Hi, good to have you.
Hi.
All right. A quick note before we begin. All participants who stay till the end of the webinar will receive an exclusive $500 worth Google Maps optimization workshop, absolutely free from our tech team. Should you have any questions during the course of the webinar, feel free to drop that in the Q&A section on the left of your screen. We've already received a few questions from our registration, and we will be answering all the questions at the end of the webinar. Also, the top 3 questions of today will receive exclusive gift vouchers from us. So on that good note, let's begin. I'll hand over the mic to Ankush to start the conversation. Over to you, Ankush.
Thanks, Pranav. Thanks for kickstarting this wonderful event. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Google Maps Platform Startup Week. I'm sure many of us would be curious to know what this Startup Week is all about, and I'm personally curious to understand why Google has selected India for this event to start with. Maybe Ravi, can you please throw some light on the same?
Sure. Thanks, Ankush. Firstly, thanks for the opportunity to be here. I'm so excited, to start off this very exciting week for us, really. Let me get right into it and give you a sense for why we wanted to create something bespoke for startups around location. I'll start off with a couple of facts, and these facts still astound me today, even though it's rather apparent, right? 90% of the world's data has been created in the last 2 years, and a majority of the data has a location component because it is key to business in these times, especially. And this is a real statistic from a study we conducted along with BCG. Additionally, we also know that the world is changing quite rapidly, driven by internet, driven by connected devices and cloud technology. And now we have the pandemic to add fuel to the fire. We've seen location intelligence play a critical role in upending many industries in the last few years, be it ride sharing, be it on-demand services, just to name a few. And we've also seen that startups are leading this charge. But even so, in our experience in working with startup founders, we realize that most players are still on a learning curve of how location intelligence can impact operations, how it can impact customer experience, or how it can enable strategic decisions. The research that I mentioned earlier with BCG on location intelligence showed that this can assist us with the following: growing sales and unlocking revenue, improving customer experience, streamlining business operations, and then obviously optimizing things like deliveries and pickups that we see in a few sectors. This week is really about educating and helping startups to be leaders in adopting location intelligence. The BCG research showed that leaders who adopt location intelligence early enjoy 1.3 to 2x greater performance in many of these areas customer experience, sales performance, and so on. So Startup Week is our effort to fix this, and this is really in partnership with our top premier partners. Starting with Lepton today. And in terms of India, there wasn't really a question around choosing India. It was the obvious choice, given the rapidly mushrooming ecosystem, the immense talent pool, which is already starting to build not just for India, but for the world. So really looking forward to this week. Thank you.
Absolutely right. Or rather, location intelligence can create a huge impact on multiple industries, and booming startups in India can certainly take the lead on this. So now that brings my next question, and I would request Gaurav to address this. Gaurav, if you could please tell us from your experience on how companies are leveraging location intelligence and what kind of impact have you seen recently?
Thanks for that question, Ankush. So, in our experience, when we see, no matter what kind of company or vertical that you may be coming from, there is a very clear pattern on why companies have been using location intelligence and Google Maps more specifically, and they fall in three broad categories. The first reason that we mostly see is to do with the want of providing a better customer experience, which eventually leads to increased customer satisfaction. The second reason is that companies want to make their operations smarter, faster. Everybody wants to improve efficiencies in the way they operate. And last but not the least, location has been playing a very key role in providing insights, which leads to some key and strategic decisions which they take. So allow me to maybe take a few examples. I'll probably take some examples which many of us may be familiar with. So the first category I spoke about was providing better customer experience leading to satisfaction. Think about an experience of a Domino's pizza, or think about an Amazon kind of an online commerce experience. And in all this, there are various touch points where location plays a role. So it could be about wanting to track how far away is my pizza? Is it really on its way? How much time will it take? Or it could be about wanting to sign up on a new e-commerce platform. All that happens very fast because location has been enabled. And this may not come as a surprise. In fact, many of us may not even realize that location is playing at the back end because it has really become hygiene. The fact that we want to provide that transparency, the fact that we want to make it fast for everyone is what's the default standard now. So that's really under the bucket of trying to improve the customer experience. Second, wanting to make operations work smarter, faster, more efficient. One of the most relevant example that comes to my mind is that of a lot of logistics companies, third-party, second-party logistics who are doing long-haul trucking or could also be doing last-mile delivery. And the very fundamental core need of these organizations is to really track their field force, track their fleet, because at the end of the day, that is where and that is how they derive efficiencies, and which is where location once again becomes very fundamental. Some of the companies that we've been working in this space have actually reported back a significant decrease in the inefficient driving, to the extent of about 50% decrease in inefficient driving ever since they started using location and Google Maps in this case, which eventually led to reduction of employee overtime by about 25%. So you can do the maths, the kind of cost savings one can expect. Last but not the least, we spoke about how companies are also making a lot of strategic decisions using location. And when I say strategic decisions, it could vary depending on which company or which vertical you're coming from. But many companies in the area of retail, FMCG, etc., would typically come to us with this question on where should they open their next store? Where should they have their next branch? Where should they have their next office? And common theme across all this is location fundamentally becomes very, very key. And that is how they've been sort of using this insight to really plan their future store locations, and also a lot of downstream activities around making the pickup and delivery and tracking more efficient. So sort of, I hope that that gives some perspective. Sorry for the slightly long answer.
No, that's cool. I mean, that's actually pretty interesting. And, it is true that, so do we have to say this, that, the Google Map services are more relevant for large organization in that case? And that also for specific sectors, like you mentioned. Maybe Ravi, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, happy to. Well, let me say this. There is some truth to the fact that Google Maps platform could be more core to some sectors, say logistics or on-demand services. But there's definitely no truth to the fact that that they're relevant only for large companies. In fact, smaller startups have really shown the way in adopting location use cases, and that too in sectors that you'd be surprised to hear of. For example, startups in the financial space and the financial services space, in the pharma space, have greatly benefited from location intelligence, especially through the last 2 years. And these use cases have really inspired us to think of new ways to scale and build new features on the Google Maps platform itself.
Okay. So that's actually a a great piece of information, I would say, for our audience. So now, as we have heard that companies across the board can actually use Google Maps services, some perhaps more than others. What are some use cases that Google has seen, especially in the post-pandemic world? And I think Gaurav has gone through these use cases quite a lot in the past. Maybe Gaurav, can you help us understand that?
And that's actually a very good call out, Ankush, because while location has always been very, very relevant, I think the pandemic has been very hard for many of us, but it has also sort of unlocked opportunities in the ways that nobody could have imagined. So some of the industries where sort of I've personally seen a very prominent positive impact is in the area of e-commerce retail, edutech, food delivery, and pharma. And I see from the audience today, we have representation from some of these industries. I see a lot of participants are actually from the area of delivery and food tech, food delivery specifically. So, and when we see what are some of these changes and why these changes have really come up in this pandemic, the pattern and theme is very, very common. Fundamentally, what has changed at the very core is that the shopper behavior has undergone a change. A very interesting report was published by McKinsey last year, which to share with you sort of a data point there, they quoted in last year, just about 90 days, which is a quarter, we vaulted 10 years in the US with the e-commerce penetration. I'll let you digest that for a while. I mean, when I read this first, it was almost unimaginable. 40% of the people tried new brands, and so many people moved to online shopping. So clearly, the pandemic really pushed us, catapulted us in a different direction. Who would have imagined all this happening in a matter of 3 months? Clearly unprecedented. So while economic downturn put increased pressure on retailers, this event also opened up new opportunities for customers. And when you sort of go back, this is a pandemic is a very unique experience, but we have been under recession in the past as well. And it has been proven by research that companies who have fundamentally invested in and delivered superior customer experience during a downturn have always emerged far stronger than their peers once the economy rebounds. Because it's a fact, the economy will rebound. It's only a question of when, it's not a question of if. And we are already seeing some green shoots there. So this in turn produces shareholder returns, which is almost 3 times larger than the average. And we are already seeing some great examples. I mean, I'll take the example of, for example, Lenskart, a name some of us may be familiar with in the retail space. They came up with a very interesting thing. Because many customers were hesitant to spend a lot of time outside home and were not very keen in spending time inside the stores. So they enabled an option where you could actually buy glasses. They are an online store to buy glasses, where you could actually buy glasses online and just go and pick up from the store nearby, where you don't have to actually go and spend time inside trying, etc. I would say a fundamental change in the way the business has been done. And similarly, the way field force has been optimizing, the way domestic travel has slowly come up, and the way these companies have been leveraging location, I think it's fundamentally undergoing I would almost call it a tectonic shift. So,
yeah, that's okay. So that actually gives a lot of clarity, and I'm sure this gives a clarity also on how the business can leverage the power of location intelligence. And I think from tech startup perspective, they need guidance. We have been, as Lepton, we have been into location intelligence space for the last 25 years. And we have realized that a leap is pretty important as a program for startups to really leverage location intelligence from that perspective.
I'm going to jump in here, Ankush, and ask you a few questions. It's your turn. So,
Sure.
Ankush, Leap has been your brainchild, and I'm sure the audience here is eager to know more about the details of it, exactly how they can participate. So I'm going to lead the charge and hope you can break it down for us. So
Sure,
can
yeah.
you share with us what Leap stands for and the benefits?
Sure, Swasti. So Leap is a Lepton's entrepreneurial advancement program, and it is aimed at supporting startups and even mature organizations with startup initiatives internally in the form of, let's say, new product launch or adoption of location intelligence in their ecosystem. Now, as industry experts, we offer our premium services. We offer location intelligence toolkit that is worth $25,000. And mentorship as a platform for startups to really boost the businesses, leveraging the whole location intelligence technology and Google Maps.
It sounds really great. So I assume as you delve into the startup's business and ascertain how location intelligence can actually have the most impact for them to grow, with $25,000 of worth of support, what does the startup get exactly? I want to get into the nitty gritty so everybody really understands. And how long is the program? Sorry.
Sure. No, that's a good question. So it's a bouquet of premium location intelligence services, which is worth $25,000, as I mentioned. And it's free for the selected startups. Now, it includes a couple of products and services. So let's say we have our own location intelligence product called Smart Market, which is powered by Google Maps. And it consumes data layers to create actionable insights for business analysis needed for growth of any organization, especially companies at startup stage. Then we have smart data, which is combination of demography data, boundary data sets, telecom data, a lot of external reports which comes from survey or from third party. Then we also add a lot of value in terms of giving Google Maps support. Now we have a lot of free and paid support products. As part of Leap program, we give one of our paid product, which is Silver Support, to help a lot of startups in optimizing the API usage so that they're able to leverage that better with our experience. Then we also have telecom suite of products. We have a platform called Network Access, which addresses the engineering need of telecom startups. And then on top of that, we have mentorship and funding opportunity. Now, from the perspective of duration, it's a remote program, which is offered to startups for free for around 12 months. So it's a 12-month program. We do not have a cohort structure. Rather, we encourage startups to apply online any time of the year because we work one-to-one with all the selected startups.
The one-to-one approach is really significant. I'm going to take a little pause here, and any of the participants, if you have any questions around what Ankush has said, just drop them into the Q&A poll on the side of your screen. We'll answer them later, but while he's speaking and detailing it, there are things that you might want to know. So just drop it in now, and I'll continue asking him questions. So the startup program will benefit and accelerate the growth with Leap program, but is there any specific criteria for who can apply?
Well, so these startups could be at the ideation stage, at advanced funding, or even mature organization with startup culture to innovate new products can qualify and avail the program. As a starting point, companies need to just fill the onboarding form with us, give us few details about the company and the business use case. Then our team actually evaluates the eligibility of applicant, and we connect to understand how Leap offering would best fit for the business. We intend to evaluate every startup intricately and rather try to talk to them before onboarding any startup.
That's great. Then you can really understand exactly what everybody's needs are, which I think is significant with individual startups all facing different challenges and circumstances. The tailored program sounds really good. So now I want to dive in a little deeper so the audience can understand it from their perspective. So if we're going to look at it, how do we look at it from the startup's perspective? Can you walk us through from this side of the room?
So that's a good question. So maybe let me take an example of a health tech company we're working with. I won't take the name at this stage because of privacy reasons, but let's say now they have a very interesting use case where they are creating virtual clinics for tier 2 and tier 3 city patients. We all understand, right? At times we do not have great health infrastructure or even accessibility to doctors in these cities. So now they're creating a pool of virtual doctors and specialists who would work with them full time, unlike a marketplace where you hunt for a doctor for one-time consultation. So they provide medical consultation 24 hours. For them, they need to find out a couple of things, right, to set the operations working. So they need to find out the cities they should be giving priority to in order to launch the services. Then, hunt for doctors they should be approaching to onboard them, and with different, specialty as their background. Demography of a city, and even they would like to find out the micro markets within a city to fill the gap. Then also they would need data, right? They would need access to pharmacy data, healthcare labs, and even emergency check-in hospital services in terms of the physical presence and proximity to various important locations, etc. Now, this can be addressed using our toolkit, the location intelligence toolkit, where they would get access to Google Maps to help them internally visualize, let's say, the doctors and the patient location, as well as the whole healthcare ecosystem of a city. Now, these guys would be hosting the solution on Google Cloud. And then from our smart market solution perspective, they will get access to the product, where they would be able to find, let's say, 5 cities to start with, with the top 5 cities where they should be launching based on the demography and health data analysis of these cities. Create a support system of test labs, pharmacies, emergency hospitals. Then our tech team is also going to support them implement the right APIs, utilization of the data in the right manner, and even mentor them in the product roadmap going ahead. Now, on top of this, they may get funding opportunity and workspace in our office if they choose to extend their team in Gurgaon. We are based out of Gurgaon. At the moment, they are based in South India. So, this gives an overall perspective of if a startup joins LEAP program in terms of the starting point as to where to launch, and to the next step as to how to manage operations on a regular basis and scale up. The offerings we have covers all of this.
That's a great example. I found that even though all of us know Google Maps from many, many years, it's always surprising when you see it applied on a business level. Did you find that the health tech company was pleasantly surprised when you dug in and showed them all the different ways you could help them?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Rather, the founder is a veteran in this space, and he was actually pleasantly surprised. By just capturing location data from the app, he can address so many customer support and business growth challenges with the same data. So we are also helping them rather expand sales channel using location intelligence data and the solutions. So you're absolutely right. It was surprising, and even especially for the organization who have not been into location intelligence as the core product, they now are realizing a lot can be done beyond the conventional data they are used to manage till now.
That's true. Again, to the audience, some of these things might be new to you, so feel free to ask questions. Ankush, they're all experts in what they do, and they're used to helping, where people are always surprised about the power of location intelligence. And so going on from that, on a strategic perspective, did you find that it helped on a business intelligence level as well, helping the companies shape the way that they were going to go forward and scale, and also returning results for them in that sense?
Yeah. I would say that is one of the most common and effective ways to use even conventional BI tools, which a lot of organizations use right now. So either they can use smart market location intelligence layer on top of the existing BI tools, or can use our smart market solution standalone, which can work the basic spreadsheet to do business analysis. So organizations today are using the technology to find location of the target customers, open retail stores for optimized sales and operations, and even marketing teams in the startup ecosystem really want to know where they should be spending their marketing dollars for maximum ROI. So any location intelligence platform like this with a lot of data, and you have Google Maps as a UI in the front end, kind of addresses all these questions. So you're absolutely right. From business intelligence perspective, this gives a holistic picture.
Fantastic.
All right. Thank you, Swasti. Thank you, Ankush, for the great session. Let's now move on to the Q&A section. We've got a couple of questions that need answering immediately. So what I'll do is
the most exciting part of the webinar starts now.
Absolutely. So what I'll do is I'll just go through each question, and I'll pass it on to either Team Google or Ankush to answer them.
I realized, Pranav, I'd like to probably just cover something which maybe we missed earlier. So there's a question by Vijay on Lepton's role. So maybe we should have probably clarified in the beginning. So I'd take this opportunity to maybe just explain a little bit on the relationship that we have, and Vijay, if that is in line with what you were asking. So Google Maps, for enterprises to consume Google Maps, that information or data is made available through a bunch of APIs, and those APIs are accessible to you through a license. So Lepton is one of our top partners, one of our premier partners, the oldest one in the space of maps. In fact, I think Lepton has been there in this industry even before Google Maps, if I can say that. So they really work. They're a technology company who work as our partners. And when I say the word partner, I mean they make sure the license is provided to companies like yourselves. But they don't stop there. They also have technology solutions that they build on top of it, depending on, of course, what your need is. And as a company, they also have access to a lot of rich data, which can also be made available to you if required. So we've got a sort of a multi-faceted relationship that we sort of have with Lepton. So I hope that sort of answers the question.
Thanks.
Thanks, Gaurav. Thank you. Let's begin then from
Yeah,
that.
maybe you can go in the sequence. Yeah.
Sure. So question number one, how Google Maps interact with commercial off-the-shelf software like Esri, Hexagon? Probably Google team can answer that.
So Ravi, do you want to go? You want to take it?
Go for it, Gaurav. Yeah.
Yeah. So I probably would have loved to understand what's on the mind if the intention is to understand if there is information available from two different sources, and if the intention is to really combine and visually show it in one place. I don't know, maybe perhaps Vijay can clarify further. So there is a very clear guideline around what is allowed and what is not allowed. So, and there are two scenarios. One could be you take information from Google Maps APIs and show it on some other platform, or vice versa, that you have information from some of the names that you mentioned in the chat, S3, Hexagon, or could also be third-party data, which you plot on top of Google Maps. So the latter is allowed, the former is not allowed. So you are free to use Google Maps as a base and enrich it with your own company information, competitive information, any third-party data, but vice versa is not allowed.
I think that clears it, Gaurav.
Yeah.
Thanks. Question number two to you, Ankush. How to set data sets and filters in georeference analysis?
So I would like to address it from the perspective of solution. I'm assuming that this question is about overall solution. So when you use any solution, let's say smart market, or maybe if you take Google Maps and create your own solutions, there is a lot of data which is required at the backend. Few of the data sets can come from Google Maps API, and others data sets, could be taken from different data sources. Now, let's say if we talk about smart market solution, we have a very strong data bank at the backend, which is combination of let's say demography data, telecom data, and so on. And then we encourage a lot of organizations to add their own data layer. So when you say data sets and filters, georeferences, so which basically means all the data sets which have address component are converted into geocodes, or vice versa. If you're collecting lat long, it can be converted into address. And then visually, you can then see where is that data point lying, whether it is address of a shop or address of your employee or your end customer, and so on. So all these data sets are referenced using address component, either in the form of the English or whatever address, or in the form of lat long. I hope that addresses, if required, we can discuss one-to-one as well.
Thanks, Ankush. So the next question, Gaurav has already given us a quick flavor of it, but it's a little elaborate one. How Google Maps are different from Here Maps, MapMyIndia, and others, and why do we choose Lepton or Google Maps?
Yeah, maybe I can take that. Given
Sure.
Gaurav's already responded around the role of Lepton, I'll probably talk a little bit more about Google Maps, specifically with respect to enterprises, right? I mean, this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say why our enterprise customers choose Google Maps platform over others, right? One is, the data that we have on Google Maps platform and the APIs are real-time and accurate. And one of the keys to this is our, popular Google Maps consumer app with over 1 billion monthly active users, our thriving Android ecosystem, which has more than 2 billion devices around the world, And we continue to innovate on other platforms like Auto, etc., to make sure that our maps are updated almost on a daily basis. We have over 50 million updates, to Google Maps on a daily basis. The other key thing is our obsession with mapping since a decade and a half. So we continue to make heavy investments in the geospace. The other secret sauce to Google Maps platform is really our places data. I've already highlighted that our consumers make 50 million real-time updates every day. There's a library of over 10 billion information around places, and this information is only increasing day by day. The breadth of this information, the kind of the media that is added to this data set, like addresses, ratings, reviews, contact information, atmosphere data, all this make our data set all the more powerful. Another unique reason is our consumer maps experience. People are really familiar with using our Google Maps consumer experience. So as you're trying to build a mapping UI UX in your app, it makes it really easy for consumers to use a platform that they already are aware of and something that they already used to. And finally, if you as a startup are interested in going global, we have a really comprehensive coverage, of over 220 countries and territories. So, from day one, you're ready to scale across the world.
I think, Pranav, Ravi, thanks. You've covered almost all the point. I'll probably just add one or two quick comments there, specifically reflecting on the need for real-time updated data. So traffic becomes a key. So many of the business models around delivery are focused around making sure the right ETAs are communicated, delivery is happening on time, and Google Maps sort of really comes in very handy because the information is always real time, and that becomes the key. The other reason why what we've heard from many of our customers is also around latency. So apart from the fact that information is rich and updated, the response time plays a big role. So I'm sure there is place for many players in the overall location intelligence industry, but depending on the sensitivity of your business, if time is of essence, then latency starts playing a big role. And that's where Google Maps sort of has an advantage over many others in the market. So yeah, that hopefully Pranav gives a good perspective.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. In extension to what Gaurav, you and Ravi explained, there is another question around the same bracket. So it talks about what are the commercial benefits of that customers get as compared to the competitive OEMs versus Google Maps.
Yeah, I mean, let me answer it in one way, right? One is obviously the strength of the product and its features. But the most important aspect, from our perspective, is we want to make it as easy as possible for startups to just start using on the platform. So to start using Google Maps APIs, there's no lock-in, there is no initial investment. They can optimize their usage of the platform as it suits their business, and the platform is built to scale as their business grows, and this becomes an important part. There are many commercial benefits that that are made available, and Lepton, in your one-on-one consultation with Lepton, they'll be happy to take you through what those specific benefits are as you scale as a startup.
Thanks, Ravi. Probably the next question can go to you as well. What do you expect from the startups in exchange for the support that we're offering as part of the Startup Week and Lee program?
The Lee program is specifically Lepton's program, so probably Ankush can answer that better.
Ankush, are you there?
I believe there was a power cut, so probably we can cover some of the other questions and take this back once he joins.
All right. So there's a question around how can I apply for LEAP program? So obviously I'll cover that next once we are done with the Q&A. How about recurring costs from using Google Maps goes to Lepton in that, and how does it help?
So I think I'll just build on the commercial model that Ravi already spoke about, and it's a public link that you can also have a look at. The commercial model is very transparent. The way it has been designed is it really suits a small company who's just trying to learn and understand Google Maps. So every time there is a use case and you enable an API call is made, there is a commercial transaction which happens. And as and when you grow, as and when you start making more calls, there is a per unit price associated with it, which keeps reducing. So what Google has done is we've made the process very simple, so that there is no negotiation really involved. There's an inbuilt discount which starts playing in. How Lepton comes into picture, as I mentioned initially, with Lepton we have a partner relationship where there is a separate commercial engagement that we would have with Lepton, but you as the end client don't need to worry about that at all. So you'll always sort of transparently see what the pricing or commercials for you would be. In fact, at the outset, if you'd like to understand what it may look like for you in a year's time, please work with Lepton, and they'd be happy to work on a proposal to give you an idea of what you're getting into.
Absolutely. Thanks, Gaurav. All right.
And maybe I was mentioning there's also sort of an inbuilt discount on a monthly basis as well. So probably once we go deeper, Pranav, we can walk through the details here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think
The
we
next
have
question
Ankush
is-
back. Oops, sorry, Pranav. I think
Yes,
we have Ankush
sorry.
back if you want to go back to the question about expecting something from the startup.
All right. Ankush, can you hear us?
Ankush, can you hear us? Not yet.
Okay, let's continue. No
Let's cover
problem.
the Google Maps
Yeah.
questions first then.
Yes.
All right. The next question is, does the virtual clinic appear on Google Search Map Pack also?
So I think this is a case study specific question that Ankush spoke about, right?
Yeah. I think we'll have to address that separately.
But I can answer it more generically, right? So if the question is, okay, so let me take a step back. Any data point as an enterprise that you want to make visible on a map can happen in two ways. One, if you wanted to show up on a consumer map that Ravi was also alluding to, it can be very easily done through a free product called Google My Business, where you can sort of really enable any of your enterprises to be shown there. But if the intention is for it to be seen to customers through your assets like a mobile app or a website, then it functions through an API interface. So that's the distinction that we need to understand, and both can coexist. Since the word Google search has also been used, I think the expectation is more on the consumer side. So we just need to understand that anything that happens on the consumer side can happen independent of an API enterprise discussion. Ravi,
Thanks.
did you want to say something else on this?
No, I'm just mindful of time, and you've covered it, Gaurav, excellently.
Yeah.
I just want to answer one question, I think, which is targeted at Google Maps, and for Pranav, you can give more clarity around Leap and related questions.
Sure.
So the question I'm going to take is, based on your experience, have you found location intelligence more effective in hyperlocal environments or a broader global environment? I think I kind of partially answered this earlier, but I'll reiterate. Yes, location is core to certain industries, hyperlocal environments, ride sharing, on-demand services, food delivery, grocery delivery, logistics, and so on and so forth. But given our, bird's eye view of how location intelligence is really being used, the usage is far broader. One of our most promising sectors, for the next 6 months to a year is going to be fintech, financial services. A variety of use cases, from Salesforce, field for optimization to optimizing consumer experience on your fintech app. Another area is retail and e-commerce. In India, especially, the pandemic has created an opportunity for us to really build a factor location into our retail businesses. And I can go on and on. So, really, almost every business has something. Location is important to almost every business today, irrespective of whether you're hyperlocal or not. So there could be applications irrespective of whatever space you're in. Pranav, over to you.
All right. So it seems we're almost out of time. We do have a lot of other questions pouring in. We'll be happy to answer one-on-one post this webinar. So I'll just, quickly take a minute to thank Team Google and Ankush for, sharing your insights in today's webinar. I'm sure there are a lot of takeaways for the audience from today. And thank you everyone for participating in the webinar today. The video recording of this webinar will be shared with you shortly on email. And should you want to onboard on Leap or you want to explore Leap further, please visit leap.leptonsoftware.com and apply to Leap. That's the link you need to click on. Should you have any further questions which you want to ask us directly, please reach out to us on leap@leptonsoftware.com. And of course, do not forget the top 3 questions of today will be receiving an email from us shortly with the gift vouchers. With that being said, thank you everyone for your time.
Pranav, if you would like, we still have 2 minutes, so I'm happy to quickly take a few more questions. So one that caught my attention was about one of the companies working with FMCG brands. And absolutely, Google Maps plays a key role in tracking field force. Many of our customers actually use Google Maps to calculate the distance traveled in a day versus what some of them may have been submitting for their travel allowances. And it has led to significant cost savings for many of our customers. So please do work with Pranav and Lepton and team to go deeper in the use case, but this is exactly the sweet spot where Google Maps comes in very handy. Reference projects for defense sectors, I think we need to understand the use case a little deeper. Defense is always a slightly sensitive subject. So what exactly are we talking about? I think we need to understand before we can really open up and probably share more details. So these were the 2 on Google Maps, which I just quickly wanted to touch upon.
Yeah, and just one thing. I mean, I'm seeing a theme of the questions. I'd like to address one thing, right? I think Lepton, endeavors with Leap to be your location intelligence partner. So whatever your industry, whatever your use case, feel free to apply to the program and take advantage of their consultations, their advice, optimizations, and so on and so forth. Lepton has been a trusted location partner for Google Maps for a lot of startups since their birth. And I can probably, I'm not at the liberty to name, but Pranav and Ankush can share more details about their customer base. But the best way to get answers to a lot of these very interesting questions is to directly get in touch with Pranav and Ankush and the Leap program.
Sure. Thank you, Ravi.
That's a good way to close. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Swasti.
Thank you very much.
Right on time.
And Pranav, perhaps the questions that we could not cover, I'm sure we would have taken a note and we'd be reaching out one-on-one to.
Absolutely, we will be. We'll be reaching out to them on email with their answers. Yeah.
Thank you for all the questions. Really appreciate you taking all the time.
Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.